All right, all you cool cats and kittens, we are on the second worksheet of Module 19. This is all about our parallel lines and transversals. Okay, so we really need to know what sets of angles or what pairs of angles are congruent and what pairs are supplementary. Okay, so this piece right here is really what you need to study when you're thinking about what are equal or congruent and what are supplementary or add up to 180. So what we're going to do first is just identify the relationships, and then on the back of this we're going to use that with some algebra, okay? So these first ones, all we're going to do is label what we've been given. So we know the measure of angle 1 is 65 degrees, okay? And then we're going to find the rest of the angle measures and a reason why we know, or our justification. Okay, so angle 2 is the first one I'm going to start with, and that's the angle that is adjacent to 1. Those actually form a linear pair. So I know 180 minus 65 is going to be 115, okay? And that's because that is a linear pair with angle 1. All right, angle 3. Oh, okay, angle 3 is vertical to angle 1. That means it's congruent. So that is vertical to angle 1. Angle 4, two different reasons you can put down. I'm going to use the reason that it's vertical to angle 2. So it's the same as angle 2. Vertical to angle 2. The measure of angle 5, now we're moving down to this piece down here. Well, 5 corresponds to angle 1, so it's the same. So corresponds to angle 1. Angle 6, again, tons of different reasons you can write down here. I'm going to say that it is the same as angle 4 because of our alternate interior angle theorem. So 4 and 6 are the same, so 115 degrees, and that's because it's alternate interior angle to angle 4. Again, just using my abbreviations, just make sure you have a reason written down. Angle 7, I like vertical angles, so I'm going to say it's the same as angle 5. So vertical to angle 5. And then last one, angle 8. 8 is vertical to angle 6. So it's the same. Vertical to angle 6. Okay, so again, just going through and deciding what the measure is and why. I'm going to give you a few seconds if you haven't already done example number 2, or pause the video now if you haven't. And then in just a few seconds, I'm going to scroll down so that you can see the answers for example 2. Okay, so either you've already done example 2 or you've paused the video and you are ready to see the answers. This problem is almost exactly like the one above. It's just that we have different angle measures. So we were given that 6 is 142 degrees, and then I know the supplement to that is 38. So all of my angles are either 142 or 38. Your reasons might differ over here. Just make sure they still make sense. It's okay if they are different. There's tons of possible answers. All right, so make sure you pause that if you're checking your answers. We are going to move on to the back side or the second page. And what we're going to do here now is use some algebra and what we know about these pairs of angles to solve for the variables. So first thing I want to do in all of these is decide what kind of angles are labeled and then what we know about them. So kind of two parts here. So the first thing I want to know, all right, what kind of angles are these? Well, I know those are corresponding. What do we know about corresponding? So corresponding, we know those are congruent. So I'm going to write just a little equal sign with our squiggly above it. That's our congruent sign. So I'm going to set these equal to each other to find x. 58 equals 5x minus 2 because I know those angles are the same. And we are going to solve for x here. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. That gives me 60 equals 5x. And so I know x has to equal 12. They did not ask for the angle measure here, even though I know it's already 58. They just want x. Okay, next one on here, we again need to ask ourselves, what kind of angles are these labeled? Those are alternate interior. Exterior. They're on the outside. Okay, so that means we know those are congruent. We're setting them equal to each other. So 16x plus 22 equals 134. I need to subtract 22 from both sides. So if I do 134 minus 22, that's going to give me 112. 112. And then I'm going to divide by 16. So here, x is 7. Okay. I'm going to do 2 more with you step by step, and then the next 4, again, I'll give you some time to work on it, or you can pause the video, and then I will show you the answers all worked out. Okay, so here, let's ask ourselves again, what kind of angles do I have? This one and this one, those are alternate interior now, alternate interior angles, and I know those are also congruent. So I'm going to tell myself right here, those are congruent. So I'm going to set them equal to each other and solve for x. Add 1 to both sides. And in my calculator, I'm going to do 126 divided by 7. X equals 18. It's a funky 18 right there. All right, last ones that I'm going to do step by step, and that's number 4. This angle and this angle, notice I marked with 2 different symbols because I know those are not congruent. These are same side or consecutive interior. And so I know these add up to 180. Okay, those are supplementary angles. All right, so I'm going to say that 133 plus the other angle is going to equal 180. All right. So I'm going to combine like terms. I've got 135 plus 9x equals 180. I need to subtract 135 from both sides. So I need to do 180 subtract 135. And so then I'm going to get 9x equals 45. And that means that x equals 5. Okay. So I've got those 4 worked out. Again, pause the video if you haven't done the next couple on your own. Or if you have, we're going to move on. Okay, so here are the next 4. Let me get those in the screen real nice and clear. Again, check your work. Make sure that you either set the angles equal to each other or you added the angles to equal 180. All right, moving on. Hopefully you pause that if you needed to see the answers. We're going to do 1 more together, and then number 10 is worked out for you. We have 2 variables now, and we've seen something like this before. So that means I'm going to set an equation first with 1 variable. So I look and see, okay, these both have x's. So I'm going to set or create an equation with the x's. We're going to use that later to find y. So let's ignore the y expression for now. And I'm going to set an equation or make an equation with these 2 expressions. Now those are alternate interior, and so we know those are congruent. So I'm going to say that 8x minus 31 equals 6x plus 3. And then we need to solve for x. So if I subtract 6x, I have 2x minus 31 equals 3. Then I add 31 to both sides, so 2x equals, well, 31 plus 3 is 34. And then I just need to know what 34 divided by 2 is. So x has to be 17. So that's one of our variables. Now we're going to use that to solve for y. Now I can use either of these expressions with x to substitute 17 in. I'm going to use, let's use this one, smaller numbers. So 6x plus 3, so 6 times 17 plus 3. And then it's not equal to this angle right here, it's supplementary. So we have to add this angle, 5y plus 35, and the total sum is going to be 180. So I need to do 6 times 17. That's going to give me 102 plus 3. And then I've still got the 5y plus 35. Okay, let's continue combining like terms. So I have, this is the only y term, so 5y. And then I need to add all 3 of these numbers together. So 102 plus 3, and then plus 35. So that gives me 140. Subtract that from both sides. That gives me, so 180 minus 140 is 40, and y equals 8. Okay, I've got x and y now. Okay, once more, if you haven't done the last problem, go ahead and pause the video now, try that on your own. And if you are ready, we're moving on. So let me just kind of point out my steps here. I had alternate, these two angles right here were a linear pair. And then here, I used my alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior, just so you can kind of see what kind of relationships each one had. Okay, and then you get your x and your y value. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This was Module 19.2, or Finding Missing Angle Measures when you have parallel lines and transversals. Stay tuned for the third video, which is for Module 19.3.